Everything's good. So you're a loan officer, correct?
Correct. Yep.
All right. So explain for the people at home exactly what a loan officer is. What is an MLO?
All right. So an MLO is a licensed loan originator. We orchestrate clients to get to the closing on the purchase or refinance of their home. And we're basically the middleman between the client and the bank. So we facilitate everything. We gather the documents from the borrowers. We start and finish their loan applications. And then we work on their files throughout the loan process, which will eventually end us up at the closing. Fingers crossed, of course.
So pretty much anyone who needs a mortgage needs a loan officer, correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
The
You
only
know,
the only
this
people who don't are the people who are buying cash.
That is correct. You could go to a charter bank, a credit union, something of that sort, and they don't need to be licensed as loan officers at those banks because the bank holds the license. So, for instance, we actually got a couple employees that did work at, a credit union, and they've been doing mortgages for the last few years, but then had to get licensed as a loan officer when it came to, working for our bank.
Right. And which bank is that?
Hartford Funding. We're in Woodbury, Nassau County.
Hartford Funding. And how long have you been doing this job now, man?
I've been doing this job now for about 5 years. I've been in the sales and service industry for the last 10. I was in the car business before
Oh, you
before
were a
this.
car salesman?
Can you tell by the jacket? Of course.
Ah, I'm not that perceptive, man.
Yeah, no, I was in the car business. It taught me everything that I needed to know about sales. It was the best learning and training experience that I feel like anyone that's getting into sales should definitely get into the car business first. That way
Mm.
they learn the grind, grittiness of sales, person to person, face to face, before getting into the mortgage business. That's what I did. And again, it taught me everything that I needed to know about how to carry myself in sales.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point because I also realize that a lot of people who enter the real estate business, whether it's an MLO, whether it's an agent, a lot of people don't get properly trained on how to be a
Mhm.
salesman.
Correct. Well, I'll tell you what, Christian, it's a lot more than just sales, right? So a lot of people in my business, they are loan officers. Okay. But there's so much more to being a loan officer than just the name and title as a loan officer. Most loan officers give you the same pitch. They give you the products, service, and rates. All right. But
Mhm.
me, myself, I pride myself in being more of the advice giver. All
Mm.
right. So I'm not just a loan officer, I'm also an advice giver. I'm a therapist in a lot of cases, right? And so are you being a
Yeah,
realtor.
yeah,
But there's so much more to just loan products and loan and providing a service. Everyone has loan products nowadays. Every bank pretty much carries the same loan products that are available in the market. Every loan officer provides a service, and every loan officer has access to about the same interest rates than anyone else does. So what separates me being a mortgage advice giver, loan officer, is that I'm able to have I have the knowledge on those loan products to get creative in case scenarios where a loan may be struggling to get done at another bank and they just can't come up with the right solution for that loan. I have the knowledge to be able to provide the communication when it comes to the service because that's the biggest thing. And I'm sure you understand being a realtor, one of the biggest things that you probably require from your lender is good communication.
yep, yep.
And then as far as interest rates, knowing what loan program, and that goes back to loan programs, but knowing what loan program will give you the lowest interest rate at that time, that's all a part of the knowledge and knowing the business and knowing the ins and outs of what you do, and being an expert in your business. So I provide a different angle of being a loan officer or a mortgage advice giver, than a lot of different loan officers.
Yeah, because not every single loan officer is does give so much advice, and a lot of our job, one thing that we have in common, a lot of our job is working for free and helping people for free and giving advice for free. Even
Right.
me, like when I first started, I got a lot of advice from free from other loan officers. So
Right.
it is really important, I would say, to be that advice giving agent or loan officer, even if it's for free. Things tend to come back to you in this job. So what inspired you to pursue this job?
Oh, that's a good one. So I was in the car business. I was busting my butt,
Mm.
as a car salesman. I hadn't made it to being a financial manager yet, but that was the next step. But I was never big into cars. I remember getting into the car business and then explaining, what horsepower is, and I'm like, well, what the heck does horses have to do with
Right,
with cars?
right.
So I was never really big on cars. And I was very good at what I did because I'm a personable person, and car
Yep.
sales is person to person.
Uh-huh.
So I was very good at what I was doing. I was making very good money, and I worked for a very, very good company. I worked for the Empire dealerships, who were owned by
Oh,
Michael Brown, who was my father's best friend
wow.
from high school.
Wow.
I loved what I did, but I just felt like there was a little more
Mm,
to sales than just being in the car business. I was selling people cars that I knew, may not have been in the best condition, and it just in my
mm,
head, what I was doing, it just wasn't right at the time. So my good friend, one of my best friends, he was a loan officer at the bank. His father was one of the owners of the branch, so he said, you're doing well in car sales. Why don't you take a look at um, getting into the mortgage business? And this was during COVID. So at that time, their rates were at 2%. Some people were getting rates in the high 1%. So they were busy as can be. So this guy, kids getting new cars and everything. So I'm like, all right. I mean, this definitely seems like something that I would want to do. Um, it really didn't click until I had a couple clients come into the dealership. I walked them through the whole process, showed them the car, did some negotiating, spent a whole day with these clients. And at the end of it, they said, well, Jared, we're going to hold off for a little bit
uh,
because we're purchasing a home. So I said, hold on a second. I said, so you're telling me that you're not going to buy from me because you're buying something else from someone else. So it kind of just drove me to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take this leap of faith. Again, it was a complete career change, although it's still sales.
mm,
Everything in the car business was today. It was today, will you take the car home today? If I get you to the right numbers, would you take the car home today? Everything was in that moment, that day. If they left the dealership, you were never going to see them again.
mm,
So getting into the mortgage business, it was more of a slow roaster. It's more of a holding hands process. It's going to take maybe a month to get you to a closing. Some clients, like you said, we work with for months, sometimes years,
yep.
and eventually we get them to a closing. But all that time spent with them is not just instant gratification.
Yep.
So it was a huge jump, and but I'm very happy that I made that decision to get into this business because it has treated me very well, even though I got in again when rates were just starting to get back up. So I got licensed in November of 2021. So so rates were almost at 4%. So they were starting to creep back up, and ever since then, I've weathered the storm and I've done well, and now we're just waiting for rates to come back down.
So is it safe to say that this business is more lucrative than your last job?
I think every business, every sales business is lucrative between
Mm,
tech sales, between insurance sales, between car business and mortgage business. Obviously, the American dream is to become a homeowner. And I used to say that it was easier and when I was doing car sales, I was telling people it's easier to get a home, because rather than it's easier to get a home rather than getting a car, because that car, you could take across the country and never be seen again and not have to make that payment. The home you can't take anywhere. But now being in this business, I'm seeing that it is a little more difficult to now in these times get approved for a mortgage. So I would say, speaking honestly, being in both businesses, of course, buying a home is a little more of an accomplishment than buying a car for most people. For some people never want to own a home. It's just not in their agenda. It's not what they want to do. And them buying a car is the biggest accomplishment that they made in their life, and that's perfectly fine. To each his own. But in my opinion, I would say yes. Buying a home is a little more lucrative than buying a car. Really, for the fact that you have so much equity, it's
Right.
almost like a savings account
Right.
that you have that you could draw from.
Why did you go the loan officer route instead of the realtor route?
Ooh, I never considered being a realtor. I didn't I didn't know many people that were realtors, and it just so happened that my best friend was a loan officer, and that ended me up here. There really would be no other reason. I love what realtors do. I love the fact that it reminds me of the car business because it's in person.
Mhm.
You're with those clients a lot of the time in person. A lot of my business is over the phone because we don't just do local purchases. We have many different ways to make money as loan officers between purchases, refinances, reverse mortgages, home equity line of credit. So being licensed in multiple states, I'm able to do um, different type of deals in different states.
It's funny because I have a friend who's a loan officer and a realtor. He has both licenses, and
Mhm.
he was a loan officer first, and he
Right.
told me if he could rewind time, he would have been a realtor because according to him, realtors generally make more money according to him. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, realtors make typically realtors will make more money on deals. And the way that it was before, I know the new NAR settlement shook things up a little bit, but the way it was before is that the buyers didn't need to pay the realtor, so they were getting paid by the seller. So, the whatever the listing agent decided to negotiate with the seller and then decided to give to the buyer's agents on both sides, you guys are making, 2 points, 3 points possibly on a deal. For us, it's a little different the way that we get paid. For instance, realtors get paid off of the sales, the purchase price of the home.
Mhm.
We get paid off of the loan amount of the
Right,
home. So if
right.
someone's putting down 30% or 20% on a $500,000 home, you're getting paid, 2% on 500,000, and we're getting paid whatever our split is, based off of 400,000. So it's a little different the way that we get paid. Um, what I will say is that we have different ways of making money as loan officers. We don't just do purchases. We could do
Mhm.
refinances,
Mhm.
rate and term refinances, cash out refinances, home equity line of credits, second mortgages, and then the reverse mortgages for homeowners who are 62 and older in most states. So there's different ways that we can make money rather than a realtor who pretty much just makes money off of someone buying or selling a home. So we could have, a few deals mixed between purchases and refinances. Of course, if the economy is benefiting a borrower to refinance.
Jared, tell us about your very first year. What was that like?
Oh man, my very first year was trial and error.
Yeah.
It was a lot of soaking up information and learning from the great people that are in my office,
Mhm.
and trying to absorb as much information from them as I could, and then putting it into my own, craft, and then building my craft and trying to perfect that. So it was a lot of dialing, and it still is a lot of dialing, being in the business for 4 years, making 100 to 200 calls a day, reaching out to people that I knew and letting them know and so on social media and through text and through DMs that I'm in the business and just trying to build my brand and out of sight, out of mind. So just letting people know that I do mortgages, keeping people updated on the market. Which continues throughout your career, of course. But at first, it was a little tougher because you don't know everything, and the
Right.
mortgage business you need to know a lot. You need to get licensed. So you need to study a lot of material.
Yep.
And then after you get licensed, there's just a world full of information that you should know. Not every loan officer does know,
Yep.
and that's really what separates a lot of loan officers from others. But there's a lot of information, and there's people that have been in this business for 20 plus years that are still learning new guidelines that come out. And so, there's a lot to learn in the mortgage business. So my first year was again just absorbing as much information from the successful people that I have around me in my office, and from other mentors as well. And then just figuring it out while failing. And I still fail a lot to this day, but you learn more from your failures than you do from your successes.
That's
So
right. Yep.
I'm very grateful for the experiences that I've had in this business thus far.
I really like that line. You learn more from your failures. I love that line. And it's 1,000% true because when you succeed, it's like you already knew what would work. When you fail, now you learn, okay, let me not do that again. So that's a really great line. Jared, walk us through a normal day in your shoes. What time do you wake up? Coffee or tea? What kind of coffee or tea? Walk us through
Okay.
a normal day.
All right, as far as my coffee, they say, do you want coffee with your sugar and creamer? So I start off the day. Typically, I like to stay at 5:30.
Wow,
The reason I'm up at 5:30 is because I like to get to the gym in the morning.
nice.
I have a 2.5-year-old daughter and a wife at home, and a 4-month-old puppy.
Hmm.
So for me, from my experience, to save myself from arguments with my wife, I like to go to the gym. So instead of going at night and missing the whole night with my daughter and my wife,
Uh,
I try to get it done in the morning. So I'm up 5:30 in the morning on most days. I go to the gym. I get that done. I come home. I walk the dog, I let the dog outside, feed the dog, and then by then my wife is up and out by 7:30. She goes to work, so it's just me and my daughter, and I get her ready for daycare. Lot of mornings doing hair, and trial and error with that too. Sending my daughter to school with a lot of funky hairdo sometimes, but I'm learning as a girl dad. And then from there, I'm in the office by, I try to get here 8:30, 9 o'clock. That doesn't always work out, but luckily, I don't need to clock in. It's a
right.
little bit of a flexible schedule.
Mhm.
And then I'm here from 9 to 8, 7:30, 8 o'clock. I'm in the office, or I'm when I get in the office, I'm immediately checking my email, catch up on things. I'm always on my email anyway, as you know, being a realtor. So it's not like I really missed much. So I just try to catch up on things that I may have missed. And then I'm working on deals. I'm working on deals that are in the pipeline. I'm working on getting more deals. So I'm making calls, sending emails, following up with referral partners, and trying to get out as much as I can. Um, but for the first few years of my business, it was mostly in the office. You're not going to learn as much as you could being an outside loan officer as you would being in the office. So that's pretty much my day right there. Trying to go to and find networking events that I can go to, and then 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'm out the door. So hopefully, and then I go home, and dinner's made, and it's time to relax with the family.
Where do you get your coffee from?
I get my coffee. We have a nice Keurig machine here.
Oh,
Uh,
you do it at home.
no, in the office, I'll usually
Oh, in
do.
the office.
Yeah, I don't like to have coffee too early.
Right.
I was never a big coffee guy anyway, so it kind of just sprung on me once I started to work. So
Once you started waking up at 5:30.
yeah. If I, like I said, I'm not having coffee until about 8:30, 9 o'clock. That's
Right.
when I'm having my first cup of coffee, and that coffee is made here in the office. I like my coffee sweet, light and sweet,
Same.
light and sweet, and extra creamer, hazelnut creamer, and we have a very good coffee machine here, so I make some good stuff.
I'm drinking coffee right now. It's a white chocolate caramel I bought from
I
Amazon from Keurig. Oh, nice.
I got my coffee right here.
So you did bring something up that I wanted to talk about. You said that you learn a lot more in the office, which I was gonna ask because I think technically you could just work from home and never go to the office, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you've been on the job for 5 years now. So don't you feel like and this is, I'm genuinely curious because I've never been a loan officer before, so I'm genuinely curious. Like,
Mhm.
don't you feel like you've learned enough to the point where you can just stay at home because you already learned so much. You already know the job. You're already like somewhat of a veteran in a way. So don't
Mhm.
you feel like you already know the job well enough to stay at home and just not go into the office?
No, no. I feel like you could learn something every day. And when you have files that need to be worked on, for our particular bank, everything is in-house. Our underwriters are in our office. Our processors are in our office. Our chief operating officer, the owner of the bank, is in the office.
Wow.
So all of our operations are here in-house. I don't have to call someone over the phone. So the easiest way to get things done is to make sure that you're there, present, and you could go to someone's office to make sure that a loan is being worked on. You could scan the images over that you need on a printer or fax machine right there in the office. And then again, there are, there's a difference between as a loan officer getting a loan approved and then satisfying those conditions on that loan approval. There's also a difference between a loan officer or a bank that's closing a loan in 15 to 30 days and one that's closing between 45 and 60. And I
Right.
guarantee you the bank or the loan officer that's closing a loan in 45 to 60 days is the guy that's sitting at home and doesn't have direct access to the team of operations.
Mm.
So it's very crucial that as a loan officer, we're basically the head coach of the team. So we have to direct things, we have to get creative with things, we have to satisfy conditions on loan approvals that takes work that you could easily be distracted from or not get questions answered, excuse me, if you were at home rather than being in the office. So I would say, yeah, of course, the successful people that have the referral partners, that have the whole home set up, they're able to, because their phone is ringing, they're able to maybe manage working from home. And if you have to work from home, because of whatever the family situation that you have, you can still be a successful loan officer. I'm not saying that you have to be successful by being in the office,
Mhm.
but especially starting out in the
Yep.
mortgage business, it's
Mhm.
very crucial and beneficial for you to be in the office because you're going to be able to learn directly from people who have been successful in the business, and you won't have to pick up the phone to call. You'll be able to just go to someone's office, or if you have a problem on the file, you don't have to worry about the underwriter not reaching back out to you by email or text or call. You could go directly into their office and get a solution to a problem.
Yeah, and there's really no excuse because, like you said, you don't clock in, so you can literally come in pretty much whenever you want. Is that correct?
You can go in at any time.
Right.
I think that's dangerous, because if you're just going in to work late for no reason and you didn't have any obligations that were holding you back, then I would say that that may be a form of a little bit of laziness,
Yeah.
and being stagnant in where you are. I think the office culture is now after COVID making a comeback again,
Mm.
because of the fact that a lot of people that are successful on social media and posting on these sales on social media, they're in the office. So they're in an office and they have a big office with a lot of guys and there's a lot of energy on the floor. And it helps for you being in the office and hearing someone else next to you on the phone with the client selling a deal for you to then get on the phone with the
Yeah.
client and sell a deal.
Inspiration is very, very important in this job because, we both have jobs that are commission based and we both have jobs that, a lot of people, it's a job that most people struggle in, especially in the first year. So, it's really important to have that inspiration, that push to basically have the motivation to not give up because, and so let me ask you a question. In the very, very first year, how many loans did you close in the first year?
Closed 9 loans in the first year.
I feel like that's pretty good, right? That's pretty
It
high.
was it was it was pretty good. It was pretty good. A lot of those loans, probably 85% of those loans at that time were referrals. So it was again just basically me getting into the business, spreading the word. And listen, between me and you and the trees, I unfortunately not being an expert in the business at that time, um, you don't want to burn out your referrals early on in your career. And when I say that, I mean you don't want to ruin a relationship or have someone thinking that you're not good at your job because you just got into the business. So something that my chief operating officer told me, I would always bring in realtors that I knew, that I started to know, or that I would reach out to. I would always bring in different people that are in other professional businesses like financial planners. And I would always bring them in, and I was always let in that first year of business, my chief operating officer or my good friend, Dean Franzese, who was a manager, team leader at the time, really take over the conversation. And then I would just sit there, and you're born with two ears and one mouth for a reason. So,
Yep.
my grandfather always told me to listen twice as much as you speak.
Mhm.
And I was able to, absorb as much information from them as I could in those first couple years by allowing for them to show off their expertise in the
Yep.
business and learn from them.
What is your favorite thing about being an MLO?
Mm. Being able to help people, being able to see the smile on someone's face, or hearing their voice, the excitement in their voice when we call them and give them great news on clearing their loan to close, and then seeing them at the closing table. A lot of people need help, especially in this economy. So people are always taking cash out. I never knew this as a kid, and having friends that went away to college and played, that I played college football with. But a lot of parents refinance their home to send their kids to college, and that's just the plain truth. A lot of parents refinance their home to, send that kid off to college, or pay for trips, and so a lot of people have used their homes as again as some type of savings bank, or line of credit, or some type of leverage. So for me, getting into the mortgage business, it was very rewarding for me, seeing those people being happy, and not everyone's happy. So
Yep.
on the downside to that, when you have to give someone bad news
Yep.
and tell them that their loan can't close
Mhm.
for whatever reason, it's the worst feeling in the world. So it's like an emotional roller coaster. Of course, depending, you try to be perfect, but it's not always the case. So the wins, you're on top of the world, and the losses, you're down in the dumps.
Yeah, so that actually kind of answers my next question. My next question was, what is your least favorite thing about being an MLO?
Yeah, that would be having to give, people bad news on not being able to get their loan done for whatever reason. We're a bank that gets a lot of loans done. So if we can't do a loan, they're most likely not going to be able to get one. So, that hurts that hurts a lot. Um, what else would I say? I would say, nothing about the mortgage business, but being a father, not being able to be there for, a lot of years,
Mhm.
knowing that I'm not going to be able to be there for a lot of
Mhm.
developing years, and a lot of
Mhm.
time for
Mhm.
developing years with my
Mhm.
child.
Well, but what's nice is that your job, you make your own hours.
Yes, but I'm in the office.
Right.
I'm not a person that's gonna be here, is gonna come in, stay home, and come in at 12 o'clock, unless I need to.
Right.
I save that for when my daughter's sick, and I'm blessed enough to have a support from my family to where I could still, bring her to my dad's or my nan's house, and go to work. Again, I take being in the office very serious. It does take away from, of course, life in my marriage, and my life with my daughter. But that will pay off one day, because I don't always plan to be here 24/7 like I am now. Eventually, once I am able to build that book of business, of course, I'll be, taking a little more time. And once my kids get into sports and when they get older, of course, I'm not gonna miss things like that. That's one thing I'm never gonna miss, due to work. And again, I'm blessed to be able to have that flexible schedule. My father was there for every sporting event,
Mm.
so I don't plan on being any different than he was.
What time do you usually get home?
I usually get home around 8 o'clock.
Oh, okay, so you,
Eight
yeah,
o'clock.
it's a little late. So did you ever consider maybe leaving the office a little earlier?
Of course. And sometimes I do. That's not. It's not. I'm not locked into my schedule.
Uh-huh.
Of course, sometimes I leave at 6:30. If me and the wife are looking to go on a date, then I'm leaving early. You
But see,
know.
that's what's so nice. Like you can do that. A lot of people
Yeah.
can't do
A
that
lot
at
of
their
people
work.
can.
Most
Yeah.
people can't do that.
But also, a lot of people are getting off at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, yeah,
They're working 9 to 5,
yeah.
so their regular day to day, they don't have to worry about getting out of work late.
Right.
And if they do, they're getting paid overtime, so they're really, they're really that kind of blinds the fact that they may be missing things at home. But listen, when my daughter calls and she says, "Daddy, come home," there's a very strong chance that I'm picking my bag up and I'm walking out of that office.
Which is great. I that and that's actually my favorite thing about the job is the freedom and the flexibility.
Right.
That personally is my favorite thing about the job. So do you do commercial real estate as well?
We do not. We're a direct lender with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Ginnie Mae. So your conventional and FHA loans. So we service loans directly for the federal government agencies. So we do your conventional FHA, VA, even dabble in USDA, and then your non-QM, non-qualified mortgages. So we do your residential properties, 1 to 4 families on your conventional and FHA loans, and then non-qualified mortgages up to 6 families, and also mixed use. So your commercial space that has the residential apartments, you have a floor, you see it in the city a lot. You have a deli with 2 or 3 residential apartments up top. So that would be considered residential as long as the residential space is more than 50% of the occupancy
Hmm.
of the square footage compared to the commercial space. We do, and we are very unique in that our sister company is called Alpha Tech Lending, and that's where we do your commercial mortgages, we do your fix and flips, we do your fix and holds, we do your construction loans. That's our private money division of our bank. So we do it all. But again, my specialty and my expertise is the residential properties, mixed use properties.
But so is there a chance that in the future that you'll get into commercial? Is there a chance?
Yeah, I can get into commercial if that's what I wanted to do, and I'll always take a commercial deal. I get referred commercial deals all the time, and I'll quarterback the deal. But then there'll be a commercial a commercial mortgage expert really handling the deal. I like to think. I know a lot of people that are a jack of all and a expert of none. So and meaning they have many different hands in a pot, but they haven't specialized and became an expert in just one. So in my head, in my reasoning, and everyone's different, and that works for a lot of people, don't get me wrong,
Yep.
but for me, I want to be an expert at what I do. I want to be known as the mortgage guy. I want to be known as your favorite loan officer, and that's what my Instagram tag is. And I want to be known for that right now. And I want to make sure that when someone does call me for a mortgage, I know everything that I need to know to be able to provide them the best service. I just feel like when you have too much on your plate, commercial real estate and mortgages, that's very complicated as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
That's a whole different ballgame. That's a whole set of guidelines and things that you need to know. And I haven't became an expert in what I'm doing now. So again, I'll always take a commercial deal. I'll always take a fix and flip construction deal. I'll always take on those deals. But if there's ever anything that I don't know, I'm quick to say, I'm not too sure of it, but I'll find out for you. So I can do commercial real estate. Yes.
Where do you get your leads from?
So our bank, we have a call center, and we purchase leads as a branch.
Uh,
So we get our phones ringing all day. So that's another reason why I like to be in the office. Our phones ringing, and we get purchase leads, we get refinance leads, we get reverse mortgage leads, and then from there, if it's not leads that the company provides, it's referrals. I get a lot of referrals from where I'm from in Huntington, Suffolk County, Huntington Station, and I'm well known. My father is well known and is a big advocate in the community. I get called all the time for advice, whether it's for a real estate agent, someone selling their home, or for someone looking to buy a home. So referrals. And then I'm the guy that goes out to a restaurant, gets his food, and carries his card on him at all times. And I'm not afraid to say to someone, hey, I don't mean to interrupt you, but if you or a family member are ever in the market to buy a home or refinance a current home, I would love to be the person that you call. And I hand them my
Yep.
card. And I've gotten multiple deals that way and have built many relationships like that. Leads, referral business, self source business, going to networking events.
Yep.
Networking events are huge.
Uh,
I would advise anyone getting in the business or if it's been in the business that just hasn't explored networking events to definitely put yourself out there. I joined a networking group that's just not going to work for me right at this moment in the mornings because I have my daughter.
mhm.
So networking groups are great. But you just have to be, you're self-employed in a way. Although I get paid a W-2, I'm self-employed. That cubicle is my business. So, if that phone wasn't ringing with leads, I would only have going out and getting business myself. So again, I'm just lucky enough to work for a bank that does provide leads for those times that the referral and the phone is just not ringing. But if it's not leads, it's referrals and so on with networking events.
I got a little thrown off because you're not salaried, right?
No, no, I'm not
So,
salary.
because I thought you guys got a 1099, not a
No,
W.
we get paid W-2.
Oh,
We get
okay.
paid W-2s. Yeah, yeah.
So, do you work the weekends as well, or just the weekdays?
I work the weekends if there's an open house. I'll work the weekends. I'm a loan officer that tries to get myself out there. That's also how I get some of my business is
Hmm.
by attending open houses. And this goes out to any loan officer out there. Open houses are the best way for you to get business. And the reason for that is because those are people that are in the market right now in this moment to buy a home. So
Yep.
they're the freshest leads that you could possibly get by going to an open house, introducing yourself, not stepping on the realtor's toes, because at the end of the day, that's their show. That's their open house. That's their business. We're just there to. I help with overflow sometimes. I'll get a walkthrough of the home before. I'll make sure that if they do need help with people that are standing outside, that I could assist them. And so being present in that moment and introducing yourself before or after their tour of the home is very important. You don't have to come off too strong and ask them, well, what rate are you at now, or what bank are you working with? But people do business with who they like to do business with,
Yep.
and who they have a good feeling with. So if you introduce yourself, you give them your card, and you give a nice, soft, welcoming approach to it. A lot of the times, people will say, and they'll remember you,
Yep.
and they'll say, maybe it is a good idea to maybe shop around a lender that I do have currently, or you never know. That lender may give them a bad taste in their mouth, and then they
Yep.
may be calling you.
Do you view other MLOs as competition?
No, there's a lot of business to go around. There's ton of business, ton of clients that are in the market to buy a home, even though it's a very tough time. And at the end of the day, um, they're not competition to me, because if you see it that way, then you're going to be chasing other people's money. And you need to be focused on how you're building your business and how you're going to get your next deal. You can't look at the next person
Right.
and say, well, this person's closing X amount of deals. Why aren't I? Of course, you need to look in the mirror if you're not closing deals and figure out why that is.
Yep.
But to compare yourself to someone that's also in your business, you're just going to shoot yourself in the foot, because you're
Yep.
a completely different person. Now, we have what's called $1 million club every month. So do I seek competition in my office? Absolutely. I'm a competitive person. I played sports my whole life. I played college football, so
Really?
I'm a competitive person, very competitive. I don't like to lose. So when I see other people that have a higher volume than me, of course, I'm feeling like, okay, I need to step my game up. But they're not competition. The only person that's competition is the man that you look and you see yourself in the mirror. That's the only person that should be competition to you.
Well, I would actually argue that the people who are the most competitive tend to make the most money. That's what I
That
see.
I would agree. The people who are most competitive, the people have that a lot of the times have the most liabilities. Meaning they have the home, they have the car, they have the kids, they want to do the vacations. The people that struggle and that have struggled with addiction before, those are people that are very hungry and get set on one thing when they want something, they get it. So a lot of times you'll get people who are in recovery that would do very, very well in sales
Wow.
because it's a way for you to feel good about yourself, of course, when you make a sale, and it's something that you're thriving for. So
Tell us about one unforgettable experience you've had in your career.
I have a whole book of them. One that just recently happened, okay, was a deal that I got from a realtor who the previous lender couldn't approve the loan. And the reason that they couldn't approve the loan, when I reached out to that loan officer who I just happened to know and asked them why they couldn't do the loan, was because they had stated that the buyer had listed their primary home for sale. So I'll give you a little background of the situation. So the buyer was looking to purchase an investment property.
Hmm.
They had a paid off co-op in Suffolk County. They also had an investment property in Suffolk County and then an investment property in Virginia. They were selling one of the investment properties, okay? But they lived in a co op. So when the loan officer went to search the co op's address into Google, it came up that there was a unit for sale. Now, you technically can't purchase an investment property if you're selling your primary home because you're going to be homeless essentially. You're selling your primary and you're purchasing an investment property.
It's illegal?
It's just against guidelines. When
Hmm.
you can't, it would have to be purchased as a new primary if you were selling your primary
Interesting.
home.
Interesting. Okay.
So when I searched the address into Google, okay, I saw the same thing. I saw the same for sale, but it had a different unit number than what the borrowers had on their driver's license. Okay. So this loan officer, and that going back to not every loan officer is the same, and it's very important who you choose to do business with. That loan officer denied, and that bank denied the loan based off of false information, just not doing their due diligence. All it took was for them to click on the listing and see that the unit that was for sale was a different number than the unit of the co-op that they had on their driver's license.
Ah.
So I got the deal, and we're closing tomorrow. And so that right there, that was a good experience. I had an elderly couple that was struggling to pay bills and their mortgage. They were able to do it, but they had no kids, no nephews and nieces, no one to help them with paying and maintaining and living their life after paying their mortgage and their bills, being on a fixed income, receiving Social Security. So we were able to do what's called a reverse mortgage for them,
Yep.
pay off that existing mortgage, pay off their debt, and then no longer have them responsible for a payment, but they can and could make that mortgage payment if they wanted to, if they were worried about preserving that equity in the home. So it worked out for that client. And reverse mortgages are not for everyone, but in this particular case, it helped for them to live a more stable, secure retirement and live out the rest of their years, not worrying about money.
Yeah, you're literally changing lives in the real estate business, whether you're a loan officer or a
Or
realtor.
a real estate agent,
Yeah, you're changing lives. Jared, approximately how much per month do you spend into your business?
I would say about 2 or 3 thousand.
Really?
I've gotten to that point now with having, trying to have it with having a virtual assistant who could also help to send out emails and marketing content for clients, previous clients, and potential clients and referral partners. I also invest in leads with other realtors. Now, a lot of that money is not out of my pocket, it's my spending, but my branch and my bank helps to pay for things for me to be successful.
But what about like out of your own pocket? How much do you invest in your own
I would
pocket?
say about that between $500 and $1,000 a month is
Wow.
is me.
Yeah, that sounds like a good solid number. Do you have any tips for new MLOs?
Absolutely. It's very important which bank you join. Like we talked about in the beginning, a lot of banks they don't have a desk set up for you. They don't have an office culture, and you're going to learn what you need to know about the business in most of it in the first. It's very important in the first few years of you being in the business to learn as much as you can. So being a part of a bank that's going to have not only successful people that are around you, but the tools for you to become successful is very important. I would also say to absorb as much as you can from the
Yep,
people around you as possible
yep,
and put it into your own thing. If you hear something that someone said that you like and you could put it into your own words, then do it. If you hear someone say something that you wouldn't want to hear yourself, then that allows for you to know that you're not going to say that. I would also say to put yourself out there as much as possible. Don't just rely on the office and
yep,
sitting in front of the computer screen and dialing the phone. Go to that real estate office and just know that 1,000 other loan officers have been there. So
yep.
make sure that you're not too pushy, that you are frequent and consistent with visits, and that you try to organize and think about a different approach to set yourself apart from the next person. I would also say to not take things personally. I
Yep.
would say to when you first get into the business, not everyone that you know that you think is going to give you business is going to give you business, but
Hmm.
your time will eventually come. And that goes back to what I originally said. And don't burn your referrals when you first get into the business. Allow for yourself to grow and gain an expertise in the business. And eventually, once those people see you doing deals, they'll want to be a part of what you're doing.
That's some great advice, man. But like you said before, we have two ears and one mouth. That line stuck with me because I think it's really important especially in the beginning to be a sponge. You got to just absorb as much info as you can. Jared, where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram at your fave LO. So it's going to be URFAVLO. It may actually be your favorite LO. But either way, they could type in Jared Thorbourne, JaredThorbourne, on Instagram, and they'll be able to find me there. They can find me on Facebook and on TikTok. It's TikTok is your fave LO. So they could find me on all social media platforms.
Perfect. Now, Jared and I, we did agree that we're gonna do a mental health podcast. Do you want to do that today, or do you want to do that another day?
Oh, let's do that another day. Let me put
Okay, okay,
some regular clothes on
all right,
and get into my regular form, and I could talk about that for hours. So I got deals that I'm trying to clear for tomorrow, so I could
all
sit
right,
here with you for another 4 hours going over
all right.
my life story.
So that one will be, it won't be about real estate. It's a mental health podcast that has, it's about Jared's personal life. Anyway, Jared, thanks. It was great talking to you, man. I appreciate
Christian,
it.
thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on here. I love what you're doing, and keep it going, and continue to be great, man. Because
Thank you.
because what you're doing is really going to put you on a different level than most.
I appreciate you, man. Have a good one.
All right, thank you.
Take care.